from Israel in the Galilee on the 20th of April. It's a Shabbat, 9:34 in the morning. Our weather is getting back to seasonal right now. We'll hit 83, and I think we're at 67 now, 68. So we're not so bad off here. Um, we're going to have a spike in temperatures shortly, but just for a day or two. You know, I think we're going to hit 100, which is pretty typical for Israel to hit 100. But then it's going to drop back down again. Okay, so let me go into the chat, and please wait a minute or two till I can get my posts up. It won't be long. And I want to check for sound and picture. We got sound and picture. Hang on a second before you post, and I'll be done quickly. All right. Almost there, guys. Hang on a second. All right. If you want to post in the chat, go right ahead. Okay. Alrighty. Well, being a Bible believing site, I'm going to do some praise. If you're a true believer in Yeshua HaMashiach, you want to join in, that's up to you. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so before we get into the Bible study, I'm going to give you an update on a few more things I've learned about the Israel attack on Iran the other day. Our F-35s, I think, or it could have been F-16s or F-15s, went into Iraq. I think the F-35s went. And there was a building in Iraq that's 7 to 9 stories high. So I guess it's hard to determine. I believe we should say this was a building that was there. This is where the militias that were attacking the American bases in Iraq and Syria were operating out of, and they also these mentally ill people also sent drones into Israel too. So they were harassing the American bases and the embassy in Iraq and Syria. It was late at night, but I understand there was quite a few people there, but I'm not certain about that. Anyway, Israel came in and decimated that building. They bombed, they shot it with missiles and rockets and stuff from aircraft. Okay, I don't know exactly how many people got killed or whatever, but it was kind of a warning and a blow to these militia groups over there. That didn't come out very much in the news. What Israel predominantly did, the reason people weren't seeing pictures of the nuclear sites in Iran on fire and demolished and stuff like that, is that wasn't the purpose of the strikes. On the Iranian air base that launched the missiles at Israel, that was the purpose to hit that devastatingly. These other bases, these nuclear sites and other facilities that got hit, there was 6 additional to that air base. They were hitting, Israel was hitting the radar systems there. Now, these are the big dome things that could be, depending 50, 100, 150 feet in diameter, and they have massive electrical needs. They get big cables, they really need a lot of electricity. And this is rather sophisticated long range radar. And Israel went and hit these radars, not the missile facility, not the nuclear facilities, the radar. What was the game plan here? When any modern country begins a war, I mean a sophisticated country, okay, what they normally do is they go in with their aircraft and they take out the radar. Oh, maybe not all the radar in the entire country initially, but they take out corridors so they can fly safely without being tracked by radar. Because if you're being tracked by radar, anti-aircraft missiles could get a lock on you. And then planes have a real headache and they could get taken down. So, if Israel were normally going to attack the nuclear facilities, the first phase would be our F-35s would take the radar down, which we already did the other day. Was it 2 days ago or so? So now the Iranian nuclear facilities are sitting there exposed. They can't defend themselves. Sure, they have lots of anti-aircraft missiles, but what are they going to do? Sit there with a rifle scope and try to find a plane and then hit a launch button? I mean, come on. The missiles are worthless without the radar. Worthless. Now, how long will it take to fix the radar? Well, I'm assumptive that it's probably going to be months. They'd probably have to replace the radar. They may have likely gotten this radar from Russia. Okay, I don't know. But it's not something that's going to happen in a week or two, I don't think. It's going to be a long call. Now, let me just pose a question to you. If the nuclear bomb threat was real, why would Israel not attack these nuclear facilities if it was obvious they were going to continue developing nuclear material, build nuclear warheads, put them in missiles and fire them at Israel and demolish, 5 or 6 million people? Why would Israel? You see what I'm saying with the nuke thing? Forget it. Okay. This was designed to have Iran lose face and to send Iran a lesson that Israel is now cutting the head off the snake. We're not just chasing the snake. The snake is Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis. Okay? Now, if Israel can attack Iran, we even attacked Tehran, and Isfahan's the number 2 city. So their radar is not effective against our F-35s. Now, you have to know this. We buy F-35s from America, and we're the only country that's allowed to do our own maintenance on the F-35s. And we're allowed to modify them. No other countries can do that. So when we get an F-35, we work on it for many weeks. And nobody's talking as to what we do to the F-35s, but you could see how ineffective Iran was against them. Now, I imagine the capability of Iran equals the capability of Russia, or maybe slightly less. The capability of China, I don't know. I really don't know. China has possibly better military than Russia. I would expect it does, but is it up to snuff to America? I don't know. I don't know. I doubt it. I seriously doubt it, but it's probably better than Russia and better than Ukraine. But I don't think it's that great. All right. Anyway, uh, so Iran is coming up with all kinds of stupid stories. This was a strike by internal drones. This was this. This is that. We're ignoring it. Okay, wonderful. Are they really ignoring it? I don't know. America told them that Israel wouldn't strike until after Passover, which is the end of April, yet Israel did. So they might strike us on Passover, which would be Monday night or Tuesday night or whatever. Well, they may not, I don't know. They know they're going to pay a heavy price if they do it. But you have to understand that you're dealing with people that belonged in a psychiatric prison. Okay, these terrorists. They're not playing with a full deck. Okay? So you can't sit there and say, well, they're going to do this, that, or the other thing. You're not dealing with France or Germany or Italy or, even Russia or even China. You're dealing with something equal to North Korea. Okay? Gaga Google land. Okay, the rubber gun squad. These are people that are, gone. Okay? So they might fly off the handle. They're very capable of making irrational, sudden, emotionally charged decisions. They are nuts. Okay? They're nuts, really. You got to understand that. So logic would dictate that they would pull their horns in, go about a large campaign of improving their radar and their weapons, and then come kill us. That's how they think. But that would take years, and we know prophetically there's no time for that. So what, are they really going to do? If they really want to get back at us now, they could start shoveling missiles and drones to Russia and trying to get planes and stuff out of Russia and hope to train pilots and eventually get refueling tanker planes and try to fly to Israel and bomb us. And, it's just, that's all that's going to be. Russia doesn't have any real stealth jets, and they're not going to beat our anti-aircraft systems and our radar, So Russia's going to give them some aircraft and S-300s. We just defeated the S-300. We've been defeating it a long time in Syria. It's junk. The S-400 is just a better version of junk. The S-500, which Russia has a few of, they don't distribute it, is probably just another version of junk. Okay? But they can't do much. All right? And now Iran had a wake-up call. So they went into denial, which is like a delusional system. It's what psychotics do. Okay? But they themselves know what happened, and they talk about it at their meetings and strategy sessions, but what they're telling the public is a big lie. Okay, all the leaders of every country in the world today are serving the unclean spirits, and they like lying, like their father, the father of lies, and they like murdering. And that's how they are, okay? And they're not going to be changed. They're going to be removed by God. That's it. They're not going to change. I don't think. All right, so if Iran keeps making trouble for us, like bringing weapons to Iraq, to Syria, and then into Lebanon, Israel may just send 2 or 3 jets, F-35. Well, we don't, you see, when they don't have the radar. Yeah, okay, I gotta explain this stuff. When an F-35, to be stealthy, has to contain all the bombs, missiles, rockets, guns, machine guns, inside the fuselage of the plane to remain stealth. It can't hang junk under the wings and under the fuselage. Weapons, I shouldn't say junk. Okay. So now with the radar removed by the F-35s, F-15s and F-16s, which carry massively bigger and heavier payloads than the F-35s, can go and attack these nuclear facilities who have no more protective radar, i.e. no air defense systems. Okay, and they can carry the heavy ordnance to do it. These facilities are under the ground. Okay, so they're going to need bunker busters. Israel doesn't have great big bunker busters unless America gave us a big. Sorry, we don't have. It was my fault. We don't have great big bunker busters unless America just gave us a donation, which I don't know. It could be the case. We have 2,000 pounders, which I don't think are going to do much of anything to the nuclear facilities. They're down 300 feet, some of them. But if you drop 4 or 5 of them on there, it might cause some problems, but I don't think it's feasible. The next step up is usually a 5,000 pounder. And I don't think that would do a lot either. Now, if it's one of those that burrows down and then explodes, it might. Even if they've got a 2,000 pounder that burrows down and then explodes, it may be somewhat effective. I don't know. I don't know. So you see, the F-35s wouldn't be able to attack the nuclear plants. Okay? F-15s and F-16s can, but they're not that stealthy. But they don't need to be that stealthy because they're going to an area where the radar's been disabled. Got it? I don't know what Israel expects to gain by hitting their nuclear facilities, but in any event, I would think all you got to do, if you really want to put an end to Iran, it's not hard. You hit their natural gas and their oil pipelines, hit their refineries, and hit the pier where they offload natural gas and oil onto the ships, the tanker ships, to sell them to their clients. Okay? Then I would also take out their navy. The navy cannot defend against the F-35s. Ships are easy to take down. You don't need big bombs and big missiles. They catch on fire rather easily. They have secondary explosions rather easily. So the F-35 can attack the Iranian warships using a multitude of different weapons. There's no shortage of weapons to use. It would be missiles. And, probably 2 or 3 hits would cause the boat to be dead in the water, inactive, sink, or whatever. Capsize, who knows what. Burn up. Be goners for the boat, Or one large missile would just blow a big crater in the boat, Don't know what they would do, but it wouldn't be hard. And to deactivate their navy. But that's secondary, that's just a precaution because they may start hijacking ships and stuff like that. And they may go and attack Kuwait and the UAE, but I don't think Israel really cares if they go and attack Kuwait and the UAE, to be honest with you. I don't think Netanyahu cares because these countries are going to try to fight back or apply tremendous political pressure to get other countries to rise up against Iran. So I don't think Netanyahu gives a hoot. But the key thing is to take out their gas and oil. And you basically cut their economic pipeline and you pave the way for a regime change with revolution in the government. Okay? Now, a ground invasion in Iran, even for America and NATO, is a monstrous proposition. Iran's full of mountains and hills. They have their crack troops in caves and little bunkers in the mountains with artillery, mortars, machine guns. They're dug in. So they're not easily taken out, okay? It would be a little difficult for a plane to be able to target them. They don't have a radar signal. They could be camouflaged with trees and bushes all over them and camouflage nets. And, they're not that easy to find. What are you going to pick them up? They're not highly visible. You're not visible at all. So they're difficult, and they're in there in small groups. I mean, you got maybe 6 or 8 guys, and they're up at elevation near highways and roads. So if there's an invading army coming in, say from the Persian Gulf, for instance, right? They're going to shoot the artillery and the mortars down on that invading army. Now they probably have a decent artillery piece there, and they probably keep 100 shells with it or something like that, right? Maybe 200 or 300. So these people can rain down so much artillery to stop the flow of an army. Plus the shells start hitting the highway and blow holes in the highways, and now they got a problem with the trucks and the jeeps. They got to repair it. This is a monumental nightmare, okay? Iran has tanks, a lot of tanks, not great tanks, not modern tanks, but a few thousand, I guess, or a reasonably large amount of tanks that are still tanks. They got machine guns and artillery, and they're not that simple to take out, but they can be taken out. A good anti-tank rocket, a good large artillery shell will probably do it. And that's another nightmare. They have a reasonably large army. Their aircraft are worthless. There are missiles that can be deployed to shoot inside Iran from Iran at the troops. Would be a horrific nightmare. There would be tens of thousands of Katyushas launched at the invading army. Constant Katyusha barrages and other missiles raining down on them. At short range, it wouldn't be long shooting, So the reaction time is short, and soldiers in the battlefield don't have bunkers to hide in, and they have to keep digging foxholes. It would be a slow war. It would be an unbelievably expensive war, and I think America and NATO would really, to do it right, would be 500,000 soldiers. And they would probably need about 200 or 300 helicopters and 200 or 300 fighter jets. And they'd have to probably take the Navy out so they can bring equipment and soldiers in through the Persian Gulf. So they'd have to destroy the Iranian go-fast boats, of which there's at least 1,500. And they'd probably have 20 or 30 naval vessels of various sorts, and those would have to go. And then they'd have to start taking out Iranian air bases, so whatever fighter jets they have, any fighter jet's going to be effective against infantry. How hard is it to do that, The infantry are going to take their M16s and shoot at fighter jets. Good luck with that, maybe every 1,000 jets that fly by, they'll hit one with a bullet, and it's not going to necessarily do anything to the plane except hit it with a bullet, you know. The pilots usually have an armored chair, so bullets coming up at them, you know, it's not something. These jets move so fast, you're not going to hit it with rifles, you know. So, you know, there's a ground invasion in Iran. For Israel, it's impossible. Israel can't do it. For America and NATO, it's too scary. They got China and North Korea in the Pacific. Almost every day, Taiwan wakes up and their island is surrounded by Chinese warships with Chinese aircraft violating their airspace almost every day. Japan's got all kinds of tensions and problems with North Korea and China. And South Korea's got all kinds of problems with North Korea. And the Philippines got problems with China. And all of Europe got problems with Russia and Belarus. So would America take 500,000 troops and go push into Iran to deactivate Iran? I don't think so. They certainly didn't want to do it to the Houthis. Now, the fact that Iran withdrew their warship, their spy ship from the Red Sea that was helping the Houthis target boats, they took it away, they said, because they were afraid of Israel attacking it. Because they saw that Israel can easily take that ship out. It's child's play. And they didn't want it taken out, so they withdrew it. That means the Houthis are going to be relatively ineffective now in terms of the Houthis are not going to be able to target ships because they were using the Iranian spy ship's radar to accomplish the targeting. And the spy ship is no longer in place, so that means the Houthis' radar course was destroyed by the UK and the US. So they don't have radar to target the ships with their missiles and their drones. So what can they do? Well, they can get in little fishing boats and try to take RPGs and pirate the boats and take them over. That they might try, but it's not going to do much good. The warships there will send helicopters, and that's not going to do much. So the Houthis may have been shut down. So Israel attacked the base of the militias that was harassing the American troops in Iraq and Syria. So America got a gain out of this. And Iran could at any time attack the American bases in Iraq and Syria. And they may try it. It's hard for me to imagine Iran had just stopped. But anyway, now Israel has the door open from America to hit Rafah, which will finish Hamas off. And now there's going to be a voracious attack on Hezbollah. They got to go. And they will. And Iran has been told they better stay out of it. The smartest thing for Iran to do now, they will not do. And that is to tell Hezbollah to back down. If Hezbollah backs down, I imagine Israel won't invade them. But you're dealing with people that belong in psychiatric hospitals like serial killers. serial rapists, serial torturers that take people prisoner and torture them. This is what you're dealing with, literally. So Israel's going to finish Rafah off and Lebanon. Now, I don't know who's going to go first. I really don't know. I'm not sure. It may go simultaneously. Rafah is going to be a lot of fighting with them having RPGs and AK-47s. That's it. Their rocket launching capability is down by 99%. So the next phase is Rafah in Lebanon. Now, you want to keep your eyes on Jordan and Iraq a little bit, not much, but a little bit, and Turkey a lot, and Egypt a lot. Let's see what they do. Okay, so what I want to cover today, let me check the chat real quick. What I want to cover today is I want to explain to you very completely why the next war coming up on Israel is really a siege. The siege of Jerusalem and Judah. Let me get rid of some of these nutbags here. It makes them feel good to come in here and harass us, Well, the crackpots are back, huh? It must be, I like children or something. Okay, I threw the garbage out. All right, the next war on Israel is in Zechariah 12. Okay, and I'm not going to do the whole book because I don't want to be here for 5 hours, and most of you know Zechariah 12 quite well, but it starts off like this. Behold, in verse 2, I will make Jerusalem a cup of, well, read verse 1. The burden of the word of the Lord for Israel, saith Jehovah, which stretcheth forth the heavens, and layeth the foundations of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege both against Judah and Jerusalem. A siege is a surrounding and encirclement. You cut off the flow of people in and out. You cut off supplies going in and out, everything like that. A siege. That's what they're going to do. And I don't necessarily expect it to be the Arab states as much as I do countries like NATO and the UN and then sophisticated countries. The Muslim terrorists don't lay siege. When they get to the border, they just push in. They don't have that self-control. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces. Though all the heathen of the earth be gathered together against it. In that day, saith the Lord, I will smite every horse with a stone. We have a great victory. The two witnesses are there, and they burn them up, and it's in verse 6 of Zechariah 12. In that day will I make the judges, or you can say governors or chiefs, it's of Judah, the two witnesses, like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf. So who do you know has fire coming out of their mouth? He says it basically twice because there's two of them. And they shall devour all the people round about on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall be inhabited, shall remain still in her own place, even in Jerusalem. It's the goofed up translation there. All right, so that's what happens. And then they look upon the Son of Man. The Spirit is poured out on those in Jerusalem and the house of David, and they look upon the Son of Man, and according to that means they're believers. They look upon the Son of Man, which means they see the Son of Man, and they have eternal life, because that's John 6:40. And the church, if you think I'm crazy because the church doesn't agree with these type of things, you don't read your Bible, because that's why you're believing the church. John 6:40, and this is the will of him that sent me. This is Father God Jehovah's will, that everyone which seeth the Son and believeth on him may have everlasting life. Okay. And what do you see in Zechariah 12? Verse 10. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplications. Now they're believers. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. There you go. They look upon Yeshua. They see him. This is the sign of the Son of Man, Yeshua in the clouds, seated on the right hand of power. His Father coming as lightning from the east to the west. They see this, and they have everlasting life. And then they fight like this. Okay, how does that read? Well, I'll show you. Where did it go? I'll find it. Hang on. It's verse 8 of Zechariah 12. In that day shall Jehovah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. David killed Goliath. He killed a bear. He killed a lion. He was a great warrior. The feeble become like that, and the house of David shall be as God, as Elohim, as the angel of the Lord before them. That was the glory of God of Israel, Michael in the wilderness with Moses and Aaron and the children of Israel. And he killed 150,000 in one day, and that's an evidence of the eternal life. Now, the church doesn't teach this, and I am very proud to say that what I teach has nothing to do with the church. They have another gospel. Okay? They don't have the true gospel. They don't want the true gospel. They want their father's gospel, which is not the Bible. 2 Corinthians 11:4. For if he that cometh preacheth another Jesus, whom we have not preached, or if you receive another spirit, which you have not received, or another gospel, which you have not accepted, you might well bear with him. And that's what the people are that go to the church, or most of them are not believers. I imagine there's still some believers in there that haven't come out. I hope they come out soon. This is the end of the church age. Okay. So what most people are thinking, and this is what I just described in Zechariah 12, is Jacob's trouble. Great is Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. You could see they get saved out of it. Gog and Magog, they're not getting so much saved out of it. It's not exactly what the case is. So let's go to Ezekiel 38 and 39, and we'll highlight some places in there to show you why we're not headed into this Gog and Magog war anytime soon. Anytime soon. And you can teach this to other people. And, people can say I'm crazy, I'm not right, but let's see them use the scriptures to make that point. That I don't see. I see people say things, but they can't substantiate it with scriptures. So, in my mind, it's meaningless. They're just making a comment based on their emotions. Ezekiel 38, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, we don't know exactly what this land is, but it doesn't sound to me like it's Gaza or Syria or Iraq or Turkey or Lebanon, because those countries have names. Okay, Babylon would be Iraq, old Babylon. And say, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. So the chief prince, and that's probably an unclean spirit that's in charge of that piece of geography for Satan. That would be my understanding of that. And say, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and of Tubal. And, it's, a little difficult to precisely understand Meshech and Tubal in terms of the names of nations today. But you could get a pretty good cut at it, And I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Isn't it curious they're using Roman era weapons? Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya, well, Persia is not exactly Iran, it's the Persian Empire, which Iran is just a small piece of what it used to be. Ethiopia and Libya are not exactly raising up against Israel. All of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togomar of the north quarters, and his band, and many people with him. Be thou prepared, and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword. Now, is Israel brought back from the sword? You would have to be a nut to say that. So Israel is not yet brought back from the sword. So that's your first knockout. And is gathered out of many people. To some extent, this is the case. Against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations. It says brought forth from the people. It doesn't exactly say that. Brought forth from the people, kind of. And they shall dwell safely, all of them. So when the heck was Israel ever dwelling safely since 1948? Never. Certainly in these days, you have to be the most crooked pastor to be able to tell the people that Israel's dwelling safely, Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. Well, we got plenty of walls. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely. So do you think Israel's at rest and dwells safely? And all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. That, of course, is not the case. To take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations which have gotten cattle and goods that dwell in the midst of the land. So, how many people here really have cattle and goods? Sheba, which is basically Yemen, it's also called Timan, which means south. So it looks like they make it. Again, Israel's not turning a lot of attention to Yemen. Dedan, which is probably Saudi Arabia, so they seem to make it, and they're not particularly, clashing with Israel. And the merchants of Tarshish with the young lions thereof say unto thee, art thou come to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take away a great spoil? Silver, gold, cattle, a great spoil. 28% of the people here live at the poverty line. Netanyahu is a piece of garbage. He punishes the people for being Jews, and he's afraid they might serve God one day. Jehovah, not his God. His God's not a God. So he holds our nose to the grindstone. He's horrible. People here aren't rich. They live month to month. They live in debt. There's a few, but not that much. Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto God, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, in that day, when my people of Israel dwelleth safely, shall they not know it? Dwelleth safely. It keeps saying that. It's not today. Get off it. Any of these crackpot church liars that teach you this are either nincompoops, dumbbells, and you shouldn't follow them, or they're serving Satan and trying to lead you astray, which is really what they're trying to do. And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee, all of them riding on horses, a great company and a mighty army. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel, a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know when I shall be sanctified in thee, O God, before their eyes. Thus saith, he's going to show himself to be holy when he kills them, when he judges them. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, art thou he whom I have spoken in old time by my servants the prophets of Israel, which prophesied in those days many years that I would bring thee against them? And it shall come to pass at that time, at the same time, when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saith Adonai Jehovah, that my that my fury may come up in my face. Okay. For my jealousy, and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel, so that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heavens and the beasts of the field and the creeping things that creep upon the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. Doesn't sound like Zechariah 12 at all. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith Adonai Jehovah. Every man's sword shall be against his brother. We don't see that at all in Zechariah 12. And I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood. We don't see pestilence in Zechariah 12. And I will rain upon him and upon his bands and upon the many people that are with him an overflowing rain and great hailstones, fire and brimstone. We don't read any of this in Zechariah 12. Thus will I imagine myself and sanctify myself, make himself holy, sanctify myself. Kadosh is the word he means. The word myself isn't there, and sanctify, make holy. And I will be known in the eyes of many heathen, Goyim, and they shall know that I am Jehovah. Okay? Again, we don't see anything like this in Zechariah 12. Ezekiel 39:1. Therefore, thou son of man, prophesy against Gog and say, Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. We don't see anything like that. Meshech and Tubal are not the surrounding nations. It's not Zechariah 12. Okay? And I will turn thee back and leave but the sixth part of thee, and will cause thee to come up from the north parts, and will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel. And I will smite thy bow out of thy left hand, and will cause thy arrows to fall at thy right hand. The point to know is this. They come to take a spoil: gold, silver, cattle, many goods. Israel is living in the land. The Exodus has happened. Elijah has trained the priests, the Levites, to do the sacrifices and offerings correctly, so they're pleasing unto the Lord. And we have the temple, and the blessings of the law are coming on Israel, and that's why they're so rich and they're living at peace. And then you have the great falling away, which you could read in Ezekiel 8-11. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that one today because the church people don't even know that exists or it's in their Bible. I mean, they know that Ezekiel's in there, but they never read it. They don't know what they're doing with that. Which also is a depiction of Gog and Magog, the great day of the Lord, which is also found in Zechariah 14. Ezekiel 39:4. Thou shalt fall upon the mountains of Israel, thou and all thy bands, and the people that is with thee. I will give thee unto the ravenous birds every sort, and to the beasts of the field to be devoured. Now, in this battle, at the end of it, the beasts and the birds eat the dead animals and the dead soldiers as a offering to the Lord makes to them. Because this is when he makes a covenant with them, and they don't eat, the lion eats straw, and nobody shall harm in the holy mountains. This is the tribulation, but this is the part that affects Israel. And when this is over, Yeshua is going to return. Thou shalt fall upon the open field, for I have spoken it, saith Adonai Jehovah, and I will send a fire on Magog and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles, and they shall know that I am Jehovah. So will I make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not let them pollute my holy name any more. And the heathen shall know that I am Jehovah, Kadosh Israel, I am Jehovah, holy Israel. Behold, it is come and it is done, saith Adonai Jehovah. This is the day whereof I have spoken, the great day of the Lord. And they that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth and shall set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers, the bows, the arrows, and the staves. That's a staff, you would call it. And the spears, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years. We don't read anything like this in Zechariah 12. So that they shall take no wood out of the field, neither cut down out of the forest, for they shall burn the weapons with fire, and they shall spoil those that spoiled them, and rob those that robbed them, saith Adonai Jehovah. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will give unto Gog a place there of graves in Israel, the valley of the passengers on the east of the sea, and it shall stop the noses of the passengers, and there shall they bury Gog and all his multitude, and they shall call the valley of Hamon-Gog. Now, the burying of the dead, it doesn't happen in, when we go to what happens in Zechariah 12, what you really have to look at is Malachi 4, which is depicting the same thing. I'll read verse 1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn like an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly, shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Jehovah of armies, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness, that's Yeshua, it says S-U-N, Shemesh, arise with healing in its extremities, and you shall go forth and grow up. Doesn't say that. You shall go forth and frolic about like the calf from the stall. That's the John 6:40 eternal life. You're young again. It's super energy. And you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. In the day that I shall do this, saith Jehovah of armies. Okay? So there's no burying the dead because they're all burned up to ashes, and the ashes don't get buried. The ashes don't defile the land. Okay? You see all the differences here? Ezekiel 39:14. They shall sever out men of continual employment, passing through the land to bury with the passengers those that remain upon the face of the earth, to cleanse it. After the end of 7 months shall they search. And the passengers that pass through the land, when any seeth a man's bone, they shall set up a sign by it till the buriers have buried it in the valley of Magog. So the people see a bone, they don't touch it because they're under the law. It would make them unclean. So they put a marker somewhere pointing to where it is. So when the buriers come, they see the marker on the path of the road. I found this on the web. They follow the sign, the indicator, and they bury the bone. And also, the name of the city shall be Hamona. Thus shall they cleanse the land. And thou, son of man, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, speak unto every feathered fowl and to every beast of the field, assemble yourselves, come gather yourselves on every side to my sacrifice, that I do sacrifice for you, even a great sacrifice upon the mountains of Israel, so that you may eat flesh and drink blood. These covenants require blood. God's making a covenant with the animals. I imagine he's going to change them. Very likely they'll talk again to us like parrots do. And other birds too, like ravens and others, right? And I guess maybe he left the birds talking so we'd have a reminder of it. So if you see a talking parrot, you go, oh wow, that's cool. What if you came to someone's house and they had a talking cat? You walked in, the cat said, hello, sit down. Or the cat says, shut up, or go away, or pick me up. People have a heart attack. What are you, a witch? The cats, and the only things that talk right now that I am aware of are various birds. Okay. Sacrifice upon the mountains of Israel that you may eat flesh and drink blood. So he's making a covenant with them, is what I believe he's doing. And you shall eat the flesh of the mighty and drink the blood of the princes of the earth, of rams, of lambs, of goats, of bullocks, all of them, fatlings of Bashan, and you shall eat fat till you be full, and drink blood till you be drunken of my sacrifice, which I have sacrificed for you. So different than Zechariah 12 and Malachi 3 and 4. So very different. Thus you shall be filled at my table, the Lord's table, with horses and chariots, with mighty men, and with all men of war, saith Adonai Jehovah, and I will set my glory, that's the kabod, the glory of God of Israel, among the heathen, the goyim, and all the heathen shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid upon them. That might be the last thing they ever see. So the house of Israel shall know that I am Jehovah Elohim from that day and forward. And the heathen, the goyim, shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their lawlessness, because they trespassed against me. Therefore hid I my face from them, and gave them into the hand of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword, according to their uncleanness and according to their transgressions have I done unto them, and hid my face from them. All right. Now, the hiding the face is something that's coming to an end. Okay. Therefore, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, behold, now will I bring again the captivity of Jacob, and have mercy upon the whole house of Israel, and will be jealous for my holy name. After they have borne their shame, and all their trespasses whereby they have trespassed against me, when they dwelt safely in their land, and none made them afraid. When I have brought them again from the people, and gathered them out of their enemies' lands, and am sanctified in them in the sight of many nations, then shall they know that I am Jehovah. It says, Ani Jehovah, Ani Jehovah Elohim, which caused him to be led into captivity among the heathen, but I have gathered them unto their own land, and have left none of them any more there. Everyone comes out in the Exodus, but he's speaking of the Exodus here in the past tense. And they stop in the wilderness and pass under the rod, enter the bond of covenant, and the rebellious, the ones that call the unclean spirits, lie, adultery, steal, whatever, they get killed in the wilderness. But every Israelites coming out of the nations for Jehovah's name's sake. If they like it or not, they're coming out. Neither will I hide my face any more from them, for I have poured out my spirit upon the house of Israel, saith Adonai Jehovah. So this is so different. Now, could this possibly be Zechariah 12? I don't see how. I don't see it. Is this something different than the book of Joel and Ezekiel 8-11? I don't think so. The key factor here is that they're living in peace and safety with wealth and riches. That means Zechariah 12 has already been accomplished. They have the temple, they have a good priesthood, and they're rolling. Okay? And then you look at Ezekiel 8-11, and there's rebellion. Okay? And a lot of people don't understand that, but I'll just touch on it. There's only so much you can do in one day. Ezekiel 8, verse 1. We'll pick it up. And the hand of the Lord. I sat in my house with the elders of Israel, and before me the hand of the Lord God fell there upon me. Then beheld I, and the likeness as the appearance of fire. Of his appearance of his loins, even downward fire, and from his loins even upward as the appearance of brightness and the color of amber, and he put forth the form of the hand and took me by a lock of my head, and the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me into visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate, that looketh towards the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy? That's your abomination of desolation. This is in the Hebrew, and that's what it is. The seat of the image of jealousy. Now, the word for image is smell. Well, shemal. It could be an image, a statue, or an idol. It's probably a statue. Okay? Which provoketh to jealousy. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. So not only is there a temple there, the glory of God of Israel is there. And they set this idol up, as you'll see. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up thy eyes now the way towards the north. So I lifted up my eyes the way towards the north, and behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entry. So there's the temple, and inside there's on the east steps to get in the temple, kind of facing the east to the left of the steps and set back from the temple. Some is the altar, and there's an inner courtyard with a northern gate to the outer courtyard, and in that gate, which I think looks more like a covered bridge, but in that gate is the image of jealousy, not in the temple, not in the holiest of holies, not even in the inner courtyard. He said furthermore unto me, Son of man, seest thou what they do, even the great abominations that the house of Israel committeth here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary, but turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. And he brought me to the door of the court, where I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. And he said unto me, Son of man, dig now into the wall. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, Go in and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. I went and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel portrayed upon the walls round about. And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel. These would be the 70 counselors at the time. And in the midst of them stood Jazaniah. Oh, we don't know who he is, which only appears here. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark, every man in the chambers of his imagery? For they say, Jehovah seeth us not, Jehovah hath forsaken the earth. See, they probably believe, the Satan bots probably believe that now, that they could run the earth because Jehovah's finished with the Jews or something like that. I don't know. And it goes on, and behold, in Ezekiel 8:14, in the latter half of the verse, it says, Behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. That's the sun god, the one the churches worship on Sunday, that one. Then said he unto me, Hast thou sun god, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And it goes on, Behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men with their backs towards the temple of the Lord and their faces towards the east, and they worshiped the sun towards the east. That's the sun god, Tammuz. And, it goes on like this. And this is just seeing the Gog and Magog war from another perspective and what caused it. You see the glory of God of Israel leaving the temple. In Ezekiel 9, you see the people that are grievous over what's being done in the temple that's bad. They get God's mark, which could be his name, on their forehead, and nothing bad happens to them. It's in Ezekiel 9. The church never teaches this. They don't want you to know it. Yeah, well, I'll read this great secret they keep from you. He cried, Ezekiel 9:1, he cried in my ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth towards the north. That's where the abomination is. And every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with a writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the God of Israel. So the next altar is going to be a brazen altar. This is the next altar. And the glory of the God of Israel was gone up from the cherub. Well, there'll be another altar with the tabernacle, so not necessarily the next. There'll be 2 more altars. We make the altars, God doesn't do that. And the glory of the God of Israel was gone up from the cherub, whereupon he was, to the threshold of the house, and he called to the men gathered with them, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. And the Lord, Jehovah, said unto him, this is the glory of God of Israel, who in Exodus 23 we learn is an angel that God put his name in, which is Jehovah. He put it in him, so naturally he could be referred to as Jehovah and receive offerings at the temple for Jehovah. Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark. Now, the word for mark can mean the name. In the old movies on TV, they'd get a contract to sell the ranch. You'd say, put your mark here, put your name there. It could mean that in Old English. Upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Now, Jeremiah 31 has already happened, because now every man is judged individually for his sins. The whole country doesn't get punished. And to the others he said in my hearing, go you after him through the city, and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began the elders which were before the house. Okay, so you see this happening. Nothing bad happens to them. Now you go to Zechariah 14. And the great day of the Lord is the falling away. You saw that, the great falling away of Israel. And then comes the punishment, which is the Gog and Magog war. Behold, it's also Zechariah 14, listen to it. Behold, the day of Jehovah cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. Well, this certainly doesn't sound like Jacob's trouble is great, but he shall be saved out of it. For I will gather all nations, all heathen, against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, the women raped, ravished. Now that doesn't sound like Zechariah 12, because they surround the place, Judah and Jerusalem. And the 2 witnesses burn them all up and turn them to ashes under your feet. There's a difference. The city shall be taken and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Why don't they leave? Because they had the mark, God's name probably put in their forehead, and nothing bad happens to them. So they hang out. They don't go anywhere. Why should they leave? Now, the time at times and a half a time is not 1260 or 42 months. It's captivities. The church just teaches this crap to you. The first captivity was Egypt. The second was Babylon. The third was Rome, 70 AD. And the next captivity, the half a captivity, is found right here. Okay, the city shall be taken, the houses rifled, the women ravished, and half the city shall go forth into captivity. Now you got it down. That's the half a time. And this is the end. This is the end of all the bad stuff that happens to Israel. It's in Daniel. Go to 7:25. 7:25 Daniel. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. Wear out is not, it's wear out. It's not, burn them in fire and cut their heads off, And think to change times and laws. So let's see, you change the Sabbath to Sunday, the Tammuz sun god day. Oh, that kind of thing. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. That's a half a time. And then it goes on, but the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy unto the end. And the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Now you see this again in Daniel 12. And what verse? 10 maybe? No. Here it is. It's verse 7. Daniel 12:7. And I heard the man clothed in linen which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swore by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times and a half, and when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. See, now. So your time and times and half a time, your Gog and Magog war, is basically timed at right around the same time in the tribulation, and they're both going to end just about the same time, and that's when Yeshua comes back and the beast and false prophet go in the lake of fire. And that's when the dominion is completely taken away from the unclean spirits. And then we have the 1,000 years, and then after that's over, Satan's released, and he gathers the nations like the sand of the sea to surround Jerusalem and New Jerusalem. And Father God Jehovah comes down from heaven, burns the whole universe up. There's nothing left to stand on. So the believers meet him in the air, go up on the clouds of heaven to spend eternity with Father God Jehovah and Yeshua. And that's correct end times. I'll go through the book of Joel to show you that this is also what's going on. And you should be able to develop a good appreciation for how Satan and the churches have completely distorted the Bible. The word of Jehovah that came to Joel, the son of Pethuel. Hear this, you old men, and give ear, all you inhabitants of the land. Hath this been in your days, even in the days of your fathers? Tell you your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children another generation, that which the palmer worm hath left, the locust had eaten, and that which the locust hath left hath the cankerworm eaten, and that which the cankerworm hath left hath the caterpillar eaten. So all the pestilence bugs are hitting the crops in Israel. And this is consistent with Ezekiel 8-11. They've been sinning. They've been worshiping the sun god and doing bad things. So God's destroying the crops. Awake, you drunkards, and weep and howl, you drinkers of wine, because of the new wine, for it is cut off from your mouth. For a nation is come up upon my land, strong and without number, whose teeth are the teeth of a lion, and he hath the cheek teeth of a great lion. These are the bugs, the locusts, the pestilence bugs that are eating the crops up. It's not 100 million man army from China. It goes on and describes how they're eating up the crops. I'm just going to start flying through this. Then we go to verse 13. It says, gird yourselves and lament, you Kohanim, or priests. Howl, you ministers of the altar. Come lie all night in sackcloth, you ministers of my God. For the meat offering and the drink offering is withholden. That's probably a poor choice of words. Let's see what Strong's does with that word. Denied, kept back. So they can't do the offerings. So the blessings of the Lord are going away. Okay? From the house of your God. They don't have the, what they need for the offerings, not there anymore. Apparently. Sanctify you a fast. Call a solemn assembly. Gather the elders and all the inhabitants of the land into the house of the Lord your God, and cry unto the Lord, alas, for the day of the Lord. That's the day of the Lord. That's Zechariah 14. It's Gog and Magog. It's Ezekiel 8-11. It's not Zechariah 12. For the day of the Lord is at hand. Day of the Lord, Zechariah 12 probably happens on the day of vengeance. Is at hand, and as a destruction from the Almighty shall it come. Is not the meat cut off before our eyes, yea, joy and gladness from the house of our God? The seed is rotten. Okay, the food's bad. The beasts are groaning because they don't have what to eat. In verse 20, the beasts of the land cry also unto thee, for the rivers of waters are dried, and the fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness. Okay? Again, nothing like Zechariah 12. Blow you the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Jehovah cometh. And there it is, the day of the Lord, and is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds, and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains. A great people and a strong there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it even to the years of many generations. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Now, why is the land like the Garden of Eden? Because they've already had the temple. They're doing the offerings and sacrifices. They're acceptable to the Lord, and they have had the blessings of the law. Okay? And nothing shall escape them. And it goes on and describes the bugs. See, this is just giving you Gog and Magog from a different perspective. This prophet saw it at a different angle, you might say. Where it says they'll enter in at the window like a thief. These are the bugs just coming around there to ransack everything. Pestilence bugs. They eat the crops. In verse 12 of Joel 2, it says, Therefore also now saith Jehovah, turn you even to me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with mourning, and rend your heart and not your garments, and turn unto Jehovah Elohim, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, of great kindness, and repenteth him of the evil. Who knoweth if he will return and repent and leave a blessing behind him, even a meat offering and a drink offering unto Jehovah Elohim? Blow the trumpet in Zion, sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly. Gather the people, sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders, gather the children, and those that suck the breasts. Let the bridegroom go forth of his chamber, and the bride out of the closet. I gotta check something, 1 second. I want to check the weather. No, I think the dog's okay. It's only 73. That shouldn't bother him. Blow the trumpet. Okay, we covered that. Let the priests, the Kohanim, the ministers of the Lord, weep between the porch and the altar, and let them say, Spare thy people, O Jehovah, and give not thy heritage to reproach, that the heathen should rule over them. See, they're being attacked. Therefore should they say among the people, Where is their God? Then will Jehovah be jealous for his land and pity his people. Yea, Jehovah will answer and say unto his people, Behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil, and you shall be. But the other thing that happens is the glory of God of Israel, that angel Michael that God put his name in Ezekiel 38, he burns them up. Their flesh melts off their bones, their eyes melt in their socket. That's not the same as burning them down to ashes. That's different. He does that. The two witnesses, when he does that, have probably already been killed. Maybe just before. So he's taking care of matters. And he says, But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will give him into a land barren and desolate, with his face towards the sea, and his hinder part towards the utmost, and his sting shall come up, and his ill savior shall come up, because he hath done great things. Fear not, O land, be glad and rejoice. Those are the bugs, the great army. For Jehovah will do great things. Be not afraid, you beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness do spring, for the tree beareth her fruit, the fig tree and the vine do yield the strength. He hath given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former and the latter rain in the first month. They'll all come together. It'll be flooding with rain. Not really flooding, but just a lot of rain. And the floors shall be full of wheat, and the fats shall overflow with wine and oil. And I will restore to you the years that the locust eateth, the cankerworm and the caterpillar and the palmer worm, my great army. That's the army, these bugs. It's not 200 million men from China. And it shall come to pass that afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall have visions. So after this is over, everybody's going to be a real believer in Israel. And it goes on in verse 31, the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. So that happens before it comes. And the blood is crimson color. It's not a amber harvest moon like the schmucks in the church teach you. And there's only one blood moon, not 60 something like the church jerks teach. It shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord hath said, and in the remnant whom the Lord shall call. And it goes on in Joel 3. So you can see that these things are not the same. Okay? The church jackasses don't teach anything right, they blur everything together. You talk about the two witnesses to them, what do you get back? Oh, they get killed in Revelation 11. What do you think? They don't talk about the temple, the next temple. They don't want you to think there'll be a next temple, which does come down from heaven, and it's not New Jerusalem. And the glory God of Israel, which is Michael, who we often put his name in, is in this temple. And who do you think threw Satan out of heaven but Michael? So Satan doesn't want anybody to know about that. Satan is mentally ill. I don't know how else to tell it to you. I mean, he's not a human, or you can't really say mentally ill, but you know what I mean. He's mentally ill. He's crazy. He's a psycho. And that's how his followers are. And they operate in delusions. Okay? They think these jackass fallen spirits are gods. They're delusional. Okay? And they teach delusions to the people. It's just the most idiotic thing there is. Let me check the chat for garbage. Okay, so I can take us into Joel 3 real quick, and you can see. Um, it starts off with, "Behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all the nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead," means judge, "and judge them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." So the valley of Jehoshaphat is not exactly the same thing as surrounding Judah and Jerusalem. It's quite different. Okay? "And have cast lots for my people and given a boy for a harlot." I'm just going to speak, "Yea, and a girl for wine that they might drink. Yea, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head." This is what's happening today. This is it's talking about the buildup, you might say. "Because you have taken my silver and my gold and have carried into your temples my goodly, pleasant things." This is a gold throwback, I think, to the old days. "The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold into the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the places whither you have sold them, and I will return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hands of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off, for Jehovah hath spoken it," probably in Africa. "Proclaim you this among the heathen, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords." You see, when this happens, the swords have already been beaten into plowshares. Now they're reversing it. After Zechariah 12, they're going to be beating the swords into plowshares. "Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong." Delusions. "Assemble yourselves and come, all you goyim, heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither. Cause the mighty ones to come down, O Jehovah. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about." This is not sounding like Zechariah 12. "Put you in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near." It's the day of the Lord. Zechariah 14. "The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their light." This is what happens at the day of the Lord. The sun goes dark and the moon goes dark, not to blood, and the stars fall, don't give their light. That's the actual day of the Lord. "The Lord also shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but Jehovah will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. So shall you know that I am Jehovah Elohim, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her anymore." See, the mountain, Mount Zion, we don't have a Mount Zion yet. Many centuries ago, soldiers took it down. It'll be back, but it's not back yet. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and a fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness, for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for Jehovah dwelleth in Zion. See, when you go to Zechariah 14 and you see the great day of the Lord, behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and the spoil shall be divided in mid-city. I will gather all heathen against Jerusalem to battle. City shall be taken, the houses rifled, women ravished. Half the city goes forth into captivity, the residue shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those heathen as when he fought in the day of battle. Yeshua never fought in the day of battle up until this point. It's the glory of God of Israel. And his feet shall stand that day upon the Mount of Olives. That's the glory of God of Israel, which is before Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof towards the east and towards the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove towards the north, and half towards the south. And you shall flee to the valley of the mountain, for the valley of the mountain shall reach unto Azal, and you shall flee as you fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And Jehovah my God shall come, and all the saints with him. And it shall come to pass in that day that light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known to the Lord, not day or night, but it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. And it shall be in that day that the living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them towards the former sea, and half of them towards the hinder sea, and in winter shall it be. And Jehovah shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one. And the land shall be turned as a plain from Geber to Ramon, south of Jerusalem. It shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place, from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate unto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hanalel unto the king's winepress. And men shall dwell in it. There shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be saved, safely inhabited. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that's why you got to bury them. They're not burned up into ashes under your feet. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. This is not happening in Zechariah 12. And Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver, and apparel in great abundance. And so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, the camel, and the ass, and all the beasts that shall be in these tents the plague, as this plague. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whosoever shall not go up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up, and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that came not up to keep the feast of the tabernacle. So it appears I guess when you read this, the great day of the Lord doesn't end at the same time. It's a tribulation. The tribulation apparently is going to come after somewhat. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations that come not up to keep the feast of the tabernacles. In that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto Jehovah, and the pots in the Lord's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto Jehovah of armies, and all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them, and seethe therein, and in that day there shall be no more Canaanite in the house of Jehovah of hosts. All right, one other thing I want to show you, and that'll be it. Hosea for today. Hosea 6, 1 and 2. This explains that there's a 2,000-year punishment on Israel after what they did to the Messiah. And this time is just about finished. We're in the year of recompenses. It's wrapping up. When we go to the year of redemption, it's over. Okay, and the maximum for that would be on or about August 1st, give or take 2, 3, 4 days. Come and let us return unto Jehovah, for he hath torn and he will heal us. He hath smitten and he will bind us up. After 2 days will he revive us. 2 days. Well, Peter opens this. 1,000 years is like a day unto the Lord. So he didn't punish Israel for 48 hours, obviously. It's 2,000 years. Revive means bring back to life. That's what happens in John 6:40 when they look on the one whom they have pierced, they get eternal life. That's the revive. Revive us. In the 3rd day, that's the millennium, he will raise us up and we shall live in his sight. Okay? And this is, again, one of the things the church doesn't want you to know. They want you to run around thinking like replacement theology, Israel's going to be like cursed until we go up to heaven, or all kinds of stupid stuff. All right. I hope you got something out of this today. It should help you put the pieces together a lot. So please pray for me and my wife, and pray for our peace, safety, protection, and joy. Pray for our finances. Thanks to those that are giving offerings. Your very small amount of people are doing it generously, carrying the load for everybody who doesn't believe in giving offerings. They like being covetous, and they don't understand they're robbing the Lord because they don't read Malachi 2 and moving along. Pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues, that they be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for better videos. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out. Thanks. Yeah, under 2 hours today. Amazing.